Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be looking into whether you should be drinking a protein shake before bed. So we're basically just going over the benefits of a protein shake before bed. And it's going to be a pretty quick presentation, so we're just going to go right into it. So I recommend, yes, you should. And we're going to go into why you should. So the benefits of protein before bed, I'm going to list them off real quick, and then we're going to go into also some clinical studies and some PubMed papers that also back up these claims. It's been thought about to be bro science for a long period of time. When it first started going around the internet, it was more bro science, not a lot of scientific research to back it up. But thankfully now there's even newer studies coming out still on the benefits of having a protein shake before bed. And when I was 14, I started drinking my protein shakes before bed, and I think that's I think I saw better progress after I started drinking my protein shakes before bed instead of having them, during midday or right after a workout. So you need to try it out for yourself, and give it a couple months, see if you see a difference in your physique or in your progress in the gym. But I strongly urge and recommend everybody to have a protein shake before bed. I'm preaching when I practice because I've been doing this for past 7 years now, having a protein shake before bed. We'll go into how much protein you should have, but first let's get into the benefits of this. So, benefits of protein before bed. Let's list off the bullet points real quick. You have increased muscle strength and mass, increased amino acid availability, and then muscle protein synthesis rates, which are going to be increased. So, delving into it real quick, muscle strength increased after resistance exercise training to a significantly greater extent in the protein supplemented group than the placebo supplemented group. Both type 1 and type 2 muscle fiber size increased after exercise training, with a greater increase in type 2 muscle fiber size in the protein supplemented group. So that was a study that was done between two groups, one placebo, one with protein supplemented shakes every night. The other one didn't know what they were having. And the group that had the protein supplemented shakes, they actually had a greater increase in muscle fiber size of both type 1 and type 2, but most importantly in type 2 muscle fiber size. And if you guys know that muscle fiber type 2 is most commonly known for its explosive power, you think muscle fiber type 2 for sprints, powerlifting, maximum output. And then type 1 is going to fall back more into like the slow endurance, you're going to be using those a lot more when you're just running marathons, right? So, very beneficial for powerlifters, especially, I think. And then also if you are a sprinter, running track or whatever, this is really good information to have. Moving on, protein ingested immediately prior to sleep is effectively digested and absorbed, thereby increasing amino acid availability during sleep. And then the greater amino acid availability during sleep, that's going to stimulate your muscle protein synthesis rates. And that's going to improve the whole body protein net balance during overnight recovery. And when your muscle protein synthesis rates, go up, you're going to have better results because usually when you sleep, you're going to enter a catabolic state. But when you're laying there in bed asleep for 8 hours on end, some people only get 6 hours. I recommend 8.5. You can go look at the other video for why I recommend that. But when you're laying there for a prolonged period of time, there's no new nutrients coming into the body. So you will enter that catabolic state, and the catabolism is going to be more muscle degenerative, versus anabolic states, which are muscle promoting. And, as you sleep during the night, muscle protein synthesis rates are particularly low. And even when 20 grams of protein is ingested immediately after exercise performed in the evening, it's still not enough to really spike it up enough for a good benefit. And we'll go into how much protein you should be consuming, but that was also in one of the research papers I read. So that's good to know that 20 grams of protein before bed might not be enough to really reap the benefits of it. You might need a little bit more than that. So muscle protein synthesis rates were about 22 to 37% higher in the groups that were having protein supplemented shakes versus the placebo group, and that was during overnight sleep. And that's a big increase. You're looking at 37% on the higher end of a increase compared to the placebo group. And, that's 37% extra recovery you could be getting every night if you did have your shake before going to bed. All right, moving on. So let's list off the bullet points real quick. How much protein? Age difference. Placebo versus protein. Whey versus casein. So we're going to delve into each of these topics. These are just kind of questions most of you guys will probably wind up having or having to Google on your own. So I'm just going to go ahead and answer them for you so you don't have to go anywhere else. So how much protein? Personally, for me, I'm a hard gainer. I bulk a lot, and I've been bulking for over a year and a half, going for 200 pounds. And I have a video up on the Ultimate Bulking Shake. So if you do need a lot of calories, you can go look at the shake I have just about every night. If I don't make that shake with the extra calories in it, with the banana and peanut butter, I'm going to get Fairlife or just some other type of milk, and I'm going to shake up my whey protein in it, right? And I get Optimum Nutrition protein from Walmart. You can do your own research. Do whatever brand you feel comfortable getting. I've done my research in Optimum Nutrition. I'm not sponsored by them, but that's the one I go with. It's also easily accessible to me as a college student, and it's also on the cheaper end. So anyway, let's get into how much protein should you be having. So they recommend, in the studies I was looking at, they would usually supplement with at least 45 to 40 grams of dietary protein powder that they would ingest prior to sleep. But there was one of the research papers that specifically stated that at least 40 grams of dietary protein should be ingested prior to sleep to elicit a robust stimulation of muscle protein synthesis rates throughout the night. So that means that you need to at least be getting 40 grams of protein in your shake before bed. Now mine, even if I just have double scoop with the Fairlife milk or whatever I'm having, that's going to put me at, well over 40, usually about 70 grams of protein. And then the bulking shake I have on my YouTube channel that you guys can find a nutrition playlist, that is 100 grams of protein in that. So, and almost 1,000 calories. So if you are a hard gainer, I definitely recommend checking that out. It tastes good, and it's really helped me put on some quality size and muscle mass over this year and a half bulk. So, when applied during prolonged resistance type exercise, pre-sleep protein supplementation can be used effectively to further increase gains in muscle mass and strength. During a daytime trial in one of these research studies, 20 grams of protein was consumed and increased muscle protein synthesis rates by 75% in healthy young individuals. However, the older population required 40 grams of protein as a prerequisite to even have a similar rise in muscle protein synthesis rates. So what does that mean? That means that the older you are, the more protein you're going to have to really get the same increase that a younger individual might have with muscle protein synthesis rates. So that means if you are an older person, I recommend definitely getting closer to that 40 gram mark. The age groups varied in all these studies, and you guys can go through them. I'll have the resources linked down below in the description. They'll also be at the end of this PowerPoint. Okay, so we've gone over placebo versus protein. We've gone over the age difference, how much protein you should be having every night. Now, what about whey versus casein? So, levels of amino acids stay elevated in your blood for 4 to 5 hours after you consume casein protein, but only 90 minutes when you consume whey. And that's a big difference. And the reason this is because, first off, what are casein and whey? They're both a byproduct of cheese. And casein protein provides your body with a slower, steady release of amino acids. And that's usually making it ideal for these fasted situations such as sleep. And, your body digests and absorbs whey protein much quicker. So, you see a lot of people drinking whey after a workout during their anabolic window, which, I might make a video on anabolic windows later in the future. But personally, I think if you just get the protein in, it really doesn't matter what time you get it in. But for the sleep part, I really recommend getting it in before bed. That's why, it's bro science, but now it's backed by multiple different studies. So if you are going to have supplement protein shakes, if you can't get the protein in with your regular food, in your diet, and you're having a supplement, definitely take that supplement closer to bedtime and right before you go to sleep, because it's just way more beneficial, in my opinion, than having it throughout the day. Throughout the day, you should be eating real food and getting your protein from other sources. Protein shakes are supplemental. It's supplemental for a reason. It's supplemental when you can't get the real food in, right? And for me, a college student, it's cheaper than going out and buying meat all the time. And, sometimes I'm pressed with work and, college life as far as studying and going to class. And sometimes I can't really have time to cook my meals like I wish I could, especially if I don't have them prepped. So the protein supplement comes in really handy for me. So I'm using it a lot more. But I urge you, if you have the time, get the protein in with real food. And not saying if you get the protein in with real food, just completely avoid whey, because whey is really bioavailable to your body. And there's really good benefits with using real food and whey protein. So don't neglect protein powder, but use it in moderation if possible. So casein is not as broke down as whey is during production. That's why whey is way more easier for your body to go ahead and break down, because it's already partially broken down through the process it took to make it. Casein, on the other hand, your body has to completely break it down. And it's more cheese out of cheese curds. It's more of the curd, so it's really hard for your body to break it down. That's why it takes much longer time for your body to break down casein. So a lot of these studies used whey, casein, and placebo groups, and they really saw a major difference with whey and casein versus placebo. But it was really discrepant in some of these groups. Whey performed better. Some of these groups, casein performed better. So I think it really turns out to what works best for you. I also saw on a graph where whey did spike really high and casein only spiked here. So whey spikes you way up here, casein will spike you here. But the thing is, casein will continue on this path and whey will come straight down, right? But on one of the graphs I saw in one of these studies, whey spiked, casein kept going, but whey, after it went down, it stayed a little bit above casein, right? I've always used whey. It's cheaper. It's more accessible to me. I don't really like casein. I've tried it before. The taste kind of throws me off, especially if I don't have a blender to blend it up with. Everybody's different. I think as long as you're getting either one of them in, you're leaps and bounds ahead of the person that's not getting it in at all. So with that being said, I recommend doing your own research into whether you want to go the casein route or the whey route. I personally use whey, and there's nothing wrong with either of them. But in one of the studies I looked at, there was an 18% increase in muscle protein synthesis with the use of casein and a 35% increase with the use of whey protein. That was the study I looked at where the whey protein stayed above casein levels. And this can also go back to what casein and what whey they're using, right? Brands play a big role in it, to be honest, because some of the brands are really diluted with bad amino acids, which will spike, so they get to write a high protein percentage on the back of the nutrition label, but it's not quality protein. So that's why you need to look into the brand of the protein you're using, or casein, and make sure it's quality protein. There was a Walmart brand, I'm not going to list the brand name, but I was taking it for the longest period of time, and it really had an insane amount of protein per serving on the back nutrition label. And when I looked into the protein brand, I saw that it was spiked with amino acids, and that wasn't really good protein, and that's why I made the change. So don't get the cheapest option. You need to look into the brand and make sure it's not spiked with amino acids. So that study could just be an outlier because of the quality of whey and casein. However, I really recommend whey, because whey, you're going to get that huge spike that you're not going to see in casein protein, because casein is going to go up, it's going to spike a little bit, and then it's going to kind of stay the same. Whey, you're getting that huge spike, and then you have the potential, if it's good protein, to stay above casein. So I recommend whey. So in conclusion, having a protein shake before bed, I look at it as like an IV drip for your body. It's like a IV drip of nothing but protein and nutrients for your body while you're sleeping. And while you're sleeping, your body's focused on recovery. So it's like while your body's focused on recovery, you've already supplied it with everything it needs to really build back what's been broken down. You're supplying it with protein, calories, some sugar out of the milk, and your body's really going to utilize that. And a lot of people are like, oh, don't eat after 8 p.m. But as long as you have the room in your diet to fit those extra calories in, you won't gain fat, right? If you do have a set, let's say you are 3,000 calorie maintenance, right, for working out, your daily routine, you're hitting about 3,000 every day. Adding this shake on is going to increase your calories, right? If you don't change up anything, if you don't take the calories out of your diet and just add this into your routine as extra, if you already were having a protein shake, it's not going to change anything if you just move it to nighttime, right? But if you have your protein shakes, everything stays the same, and then you add this into your routine, your calories are going to increase. So I do urge you to make sure you're watching your calories, because if you do just throw this into your routine, don't change anything about your diet, you're going to increase your calories, and you're going to wind up increasing the potential for you to gain a little bit of extra fat because you are sedentary while you're sleeping, and you're not going to be burning as many calories as you think you might. And having a protein shake is usually calorie dense, depending on the brand, depending on what milk you're using. And those are extra calories that if you're not burning off elsewhere, you are going to be putting yourself in a position for more of a bulk. So if you are having a protein shake already, just take the same shake, move it to the end of your day, right before bed. And if it's not 40 grams of protein, maybe add an extra scoop of protein in there, or just increase the volume of milk. Here's the resources. They'll be linked down below in the description. Feel free to check them out. Hopefully you might find some extra information in there, but you can also go back to see everything that we reviewed and, look into it for yourself. I urge you to do your own research. If you have any other questions, please feel free to drop them down in the comments. I'll get back with you as soon as possible. I hope this video was very beneficial for you guys. I appreciate you guys checking it out. Hope you guys have a wonderful morning, a wonderful night wherever you're at, and I'll see you in the next one.